Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. And whoa, everything's all crazy. We're coming to you on a Wednesday this week. Of course, ACC tournament, Tar Heels in action in Greensboro, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to look back to the win over Duke, some individual awards for some Tar Heels on the basketball court, all kinds of success across Carolina athletics. Plus, we're going to talk to Kerwin Walton. Can't wait to do all of that over the next 30 minutes or so. And to help me do that, Adam Lucas, I'm Jones Angel. Adam, hello.
I'm ready for the ACC tournament.
Adam's ready. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's get started. Adam, what has gotten us so ready was a great performance by Carolina on Senior Day. The victory over Duke Saturday night, a game that, quite honestly, was never even really in doubt. Tar Heels end up winning it 91-73. Carolina led 26-6 at one point. Duke never got any closer than 12 after that, and it was a game. It was stressful because it was Carolina-Duke, but the Tar Heels had a sizable lead most of the night.
It just felt like you were constantly waiting for Duke to make that run that you knew they were going to make, and they just never quite could. And part of that was a problem for Duke, and part of that was Carolina playing a consistent 40 minutes and playing well for most of the night and really building the momentum, getting a lot of good performances from a lot of players, which has been Carolina's best strategy of winning this year, is the diversity of the scoring. And Tar Heels looked like a team that was ready for March. Now we just have to have them continue that actually into March, string together a few good performances in a row.
It was Senior Day in Chapel Hill, and Adam, all the seniors did something that made you feel good and helped Carolina win. Garrison Brooks, of course, most notably with 14 points, but Walker Miller took a charge early in the game. Andrew Platek had a couple of assists, including a lob to Sterling Manley near the end of the game. KJ Smith had a bucket, so good to see all those guys have some success.
Definitely a feel-good type of game, and it always feels good when you start the seniors who don't normally start and they contribute right away. Walker Miller, who was great on the audio pod, drew a big charge on Duke's very first possession. Felt like that set the tone for the entire rest of the game.
Kerwin Walton, our guest coming up in a little bit, had 18 points. Caleb Love had 18. Those two, the starting backcourt for Carolina, Love and Walton, in the two games against Duke combined for 73 points in the two matchups. Both of them played very well in the two victories over the Blue Devils. Adam, also with the regular season coming to a close, that means it's time for some of the individual awards across the conference, and Carolina did have a couple of individual honors, including Armando Bacot being named third team All-ACC. Armando played well against Duke on Saturday as well, and good to see him bouncing back. He went through a little bit of a lull there, maybe 2/3 of the way through the season, but bounced back and has had a couple nice performances here in a row.
He said after his freshman season he wanted to be more consistent as a sophomore, and by and large, he has. Nobody's going to do it every single game, but he's done it over the course of the season. We talked about this on Tuesday's audio pod, which I know you've already downloaded and listened to. It's difficult for Carolina in some of the awards voting because they are so balanced, maybe more balanced than any Tar Heel team we've seen in the Roy Williams era. So nobody's numbers are going to stand out for things like All-ACC, but Carolina's had a lot of big contributions from a lot of players. Nice to see Armando get honored individually.
That includes some of those Tar Heels that have done things on a high level this year. That includes two guys we mentioned earlier, Caleb Love and actually Day'Ron Sharpe. I was thinking Kerwin Walton. Well, Kerwin could have been all freshman in our heart as well, but it's Caleb Love and Day'Ron Sharpe. Certainly, Adam, deserving of being members of the all-freshman team.
Absolutely, and Day'Ron Sharpe, another player who it felt like was pretty consistent most of the year, especially as a freshman, to do that in the post, an area where a lot of times freshmen get pushed around. Day'Ron was the one doing the pushing. He wasn't getting pushed, and a great freshman campaign for him, and looking forward to more in the postseason.
Here's where Kerwin Walton was honored by the ACC. He and R.J. Davis, Adam, named All-ACC academic team members. So not just helping Carolina on the court, but getting it done in the virtual classroom this year as well.
I think that's harder to do than people realize, especially in a year where you, as you said, you never really went into a classroom. It's hard enough to adjust to college basketball. You also have to adjust to actual college, and to do it at the All-ACC academic level, very impressive for both of those freshmen.
So the regular season complete for the Tar Heels, and Adam, that means it is time for the ACC tournament. Carolina is the number 6 seed. The event in Greensboro was originally scheduled for Washington, D.C. this year, but due to the COVID pandemic, moving it closer to the headquarters for the ACC. Carolina is the 6th seed in the event and will face Notre Dame in the second round. Notre Dame with a victory over Wake Forest to advance to this evening's game. And Adam, this is a team that played a very, very tight game with the Tar Heels in the regular season. That was, boy, a long time ago now. January 2nd, Carolina won the game against Notre Dame by just a point in the Smith Center, needed a late bucket from Leaky Black, and then a defensive stop in the final seconds to get the win.
Not much secret about what you need to do to stop Notre Dame. The Irish are going to shoot three-pointers. They're going to shoot a lot of three-pointers. They're going to drive the ball to pitch it out for three-pointers. You've just got to defend that three-point arc. Carolina wasn't great in that department when Notre Dame came to the Smith Center. You know the Irish have Nate Laszewski. He's a stretch forward, Jones. A talented player. Carolina wanted him, of course, and he's been very good for Notre Dame. So Tar Heels got to defend the perimeter. Prentice
Hubb, also third-team All-ACC, the Notre Dame point guard. He led the league through the regular season in assists per game. So certainly a big challenge for Carolina coming up. That game scheduled for right around 9 o'clock this evening in Greensboro, Carolina and Notre Dame in the second round of the ACC tournament. But of course, it is not just men's basketball competing for Carolina right now. And Adam, with so many sports going on, we figured we'd narrow our focus, at least for this week, to celebrate some Tar Heel women's teams because it was International Women's Day on Monday. So let's focus in on some of the ladies. And gracious, Adam, there is a ton of success really across the board, but in women's sports for UNC. Let's start with field hockey. This is one of those unique seasons that was played some in the fall and now is continuing in the spring due to COVID. And they started their spring season off with a quality victory 2-0 over Louisville. And this had a little extra bit to it, Adam, because Louisville's the only team to beat Carolina. That came back in the fall. It's the only team to beat them since 2017. And Carolina closed the fall campaign by beating Louisville in the ACC championship game.
Carolina's just going to play Louisville all the time. Every single game, best out of 15. Jones, wait a second. Was that you in that tweet wearing the goalkeeper outfit?
Aaron Matson, who scored 2 goals in this game for the Tar Heels, the 2 goals that the Heels scored to win it 2-0. There it is. I am
your
ready.
Your ponytail's flying.
They're just getting that goalkeeper equipment ready for when Aaron and I go at it one-on-one. I'm going to let her take some shots and see how many I can stop. Anytime. I'm guessing now we have to wait for the season.
We've got to wait for the spring season to end so that you can safely put on the goalkeeper equipment. But that was a good shot of what you need to do to be effective because it was a shutout for the Heels.
The next shot would be me lying on the ground, unable to get up after making the attempt to make the stop. All right, women's lacrosse also in action, and what a year it has been for women's lacrosse so far. They took on yet another ranked team. This time it was number 11 Boston College, and Carolina gets the win 21-9 over BC. Carolina's 6-0 on the season, Adam. 5 of those 6 opponents have been ranked. They've outscored just the 5 ranked opponents, outscored them 76-33.
You rightly described women's lacrosse on the audio pod on Tuesday as a wagon.
Yeah.
They are. They're defeating all comers. We don't know who the next one's going to be. Tar Heels were slated to take on Virginia Tech this weekend. That game's a bit up in the air as the Hokies try to work through some issues.
Yeah, it was. The schedule was Thursday against Virginia Tech and Saturday against Virginia Tech, both in Blacksburg. The Thursday game has since been postponed due to COVID issues. The Saturday game still on the schedule currently, but TBD to see if that happens.
So the game in Blacksburg is still on as of now.
That is one way to put it, yes. Okay, let's go to women's tennis. And Adam, so women's tennis, speaking of wagons, the women's tennis, already the ITA Indoor National Championship, had 2, as you called it, whitewashings of Miami and Florida State this past weekend, both 7-0 victories. And Adam, look at that last bullet point on this tweet. Carolina women's tennis has now defeated Texas, Georgia, Pepperdine, and Florida State already this year. Those are the other 4 teams that are ranked in the top 5.
Carolina's strength of schedule going to be extremely strong. That win over Florida State, the whitewashing, the Noles are number 5 in the country. So a very impressive start to the year. Of course, there's a ways to go before we get to the NCAA championships for women's tennis, but Tar Heels looking mighty strong right now in March.
By the way, our show, as always, brought to you by our friends at Wells Fargo. And when our communities need us, Wells Fargo is here to help. Women's basketball, Adam, have they done enough to get into the NCAA tournament? They're on that bubble. It feels like Courtney Banghart's team, though, is likely in. Most of the projections show them as such, and they'll know for sure on Monday, and certainly hope that they hear their name called. It would be such a terrific step forward in year 2 for Coach Banghart.
I have them in on my bracket,
Oh,
James.
okay.
I've got them as the
Take
top
that, Charlie
seed.
Cream.
Yeah, I've got them as the top seed. They're facing number 16 Farmington Woods Elementary in the first game. But Carolina was coming together at the end. A disappointing performance against Wake in the ACC tournament. But it feels like the younger Tar Heels were finding their place, getting some good contributions from the veterans, including, of course, our pod favorite, Petra Holoshinska, who was with us on the video pod, and hoping they can sneak into the NCAA tournament and then win a game or two.
Also some roster news as well for women's basketball, as Carly Littlefield is going to transfer in to Carolina, a grad transfer from Princeton. Coach Banghart coached her at Princeton for a couple of seasons, and so a point guard. She was on a mid-major player of the year candidate list this year, so a quality player coming in for Carolina's women's team next season to go along with a terrific recruiting class, but that's in the future. Adam, let's talk about the present, and let's talk about cross country, because the women's cross country team qualified for the NCAAs, and excited to see that. That's coming up later this month in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And then indoor track and field. Also, Adam, that's our last stop before our interview. 4 Tar Heels qualified for the NCAA Indoor Championships. That includes Anna Kiefer. There you see Anna. She qualified in the long jump. And Adam, not only is Anna a terrific long jumper, but she is also a creative services intern. So she's here in the building with us sometimes as well. You see here some of her great photography work. She's been really keeping up with the track and field team through some multimedia options throughout the season. So best of luck to Anna and the rest of those folks from indoor track, which, Adam, includes Daniel MacArthur. I've heard that you have challenged Daniel MacArthur to an arm wrestling contest.
I was really excited about doing this, but I was only free on March 12th. And it looks like Daniel's going to be at the Indoor Track and Field Championships that day in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Yeah. I can't be in Fayetteville, Arkansas that day, so I guess Daniel's going to have to take his whooping on a different day, and hopefully he never sees this.
If we got the tape measure out around his bicep as he was sitting there like, throwing the shot put, and then we put it around your midsection, Adam. Which one is thicker? Which one's thicker?
I'm not sure that I want to know the answer to that question.
You know what you do want to know, though, and that's what Kerwin Walton's thinking. And great news. We had a chance to catch up with Kerwin, all ACC academic team member. What a terrific freshman year it's been, and just a great guy, too, as you will hear. We're going to talk to Kerwin, then get to our social drive coming up on the Carolina Insider.
You knew our guest today could shoot the basketball. You probably didn't know he was also doing equally well in the classroom. The freshly minted academic All-ACC selection, Kerwin Walton. Kerwin, congratulations, and thanks so much for giving us some time today.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it.
What is ACC tournament preparation week like for the Tar Heels?
We're just going to be focusing a lot on cutting down our turnovers and getting as many shots up as possible to make sure that we're all shooting the ball well and really putting a lot of emphasis on our defense. I think if we come out, with the same energy we played last game against Duke, we can pretty much be any team that we play in the ACC tournament. So right now we're just focused on, showing up and becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Kerwin, you shot the ball, you've shot the ball well all season long, but shot the ball well against Duke. That came after a stretch where the ball was not going in quite as much over a game or two. Was it hard to go through a difficult stretch like that? Because we really haven't seen you struggle to shoot the ball very much this season at all.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really bothering me too much just because I know, what I'm capable of, and I know that I normally make shots and I can hit, 7 in a row. I miss 7 in a row, I can make 7 in a row. But I really, just been getting in the gym, making sure my shot stays sharp and just making sure it doesn't happen again. And that's pretty much just been my focus, just to keep shooting, stay confident, and win games.
You mentioned playing in Greensboro with the same energy that you had against Duke. It seemed like Coach Williams didn't think Monday's practice was one of the better ones this year. What have you learned over the course of your freshman year about the energy required in practice in order to be able to replicate that in a game?
I think it's just all mental, for us. Sometimes, we our bodies are physically beat up just from playing a lot of games and practicing hard. And I think that actually does play a bit of a factor in terms of like how hard we go in practice and even how hard we can go in games. But really, it's just you got to get that mental gear kicking in. He always mentions his championship teams and how mentally tough they were and how they had great leaders on their teams, and that's what made them so great. So we just got to try to emulate them and just pretty much just push through and focus on our end goals, which is winning the championship.
Kerwin, kind of to that point, you always hear about the freshman wall, and you're playing more games and more minutes than in high school, and at some point freshmen tend to have a stretch where they're just a little bit worn out. Do you think that ever happened?
Yeah, I definitely do think it happens. I think it's just because we practice probably much more than we did in high school. We probably have some more games. Games are usually longer. Practices probably might be also longer. I think it just, there's more attention to detail in the practices, and we are expected to bring even more than we normally used to. So I think definitely does play a role in it. But we got great trainers and great staff on the team that help us, with our recovery and just our mental aspects. So I think that does play a big role in it.
We always love to marvel at your various shooting statistics. Coach Williams made y'all shoot 300 free throws apiece over the last few weeks each week. What's the most you made out of 300?
Most I made out of 300. I think the last time I did it, I missed about like 15 shots. I can't remember. I think it was around there. I know I was like in the 90s with a couple other guys, but I think it was like around 15 shots I missed out of 300.
You're Kerwin.
We'll let you stay, Kerwin. It's okay. We'll let you stay on the team.
Only Kerwin would count misses instead of makes. Oh, I remember I missed 6. I was very disappointed in myself.
Kerwin, your mom was able to come and see you play. I think the Duke game, if I'm not mistaken, was the first game that she had seen you play in person as a Tar Heel. What was that like?
It was amazing. I was really happy that she was there with my dad and brother. I think it was it definitely gave me a whole lot of motivation before the game, and it got me really excited. So I knew I couldn't, not play hard, especially with them in the stands, because I don't want to hear it after the game. But yeah, it was amazing though. It was great to because they don't normally come to a lot of my games, so I was just really happy just the whole time.
22-hour drive from Hopkins, Minnesota to Chapel Hill, is that right?
Oh yeah, it's long.
Woo. Weather probably a little better here, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sure.
We mentioned your academic All-ACC selection. How have you balanced school in a weird school year for everyone, along with all the responsibilities that come with basketball over the last 9 months or so?
It's definitely not easy. It's real hard. It's really easy to forget, like, certain assignments, especially if you're not organized. So I got a really good guidance counselor to help me out with all that stuff. And I've been just trying to stay organized and make sure I'm on top of things, especially when we got stuff to do on game days. It kind of makes it harder to like keep track of things. It's really easy to forget. So it's really just having a calendar and making sure I'm not missing any assignments and know what to do on classes or days I miss.
Kerwin, just a few more things. This team, it seems like there's still such a wide range of what you could see from this team on any given night. When you guys play well, you play really, really well. And then there's been some games where it hasn't been as good. How do you try and find that consistency at a time of year where consistency is so important?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. It's hard because, some games we have more motivation. I feel like more guys have more motivation for it than others. And I think a lot of other guys, they might just feel really sore or tired from the nights before of all the practicing and playing. But, it's really hard to stay, like, on top of everything, but we're just trying to find our rhythm. And I think after the Duke game, we got it. So as long as we just keep on being more consistent from here on out, I think we'll be fine.
Kerwin, we've seen you add some different types of shots to your arsenal over the course of your freshman year. The crossover against Duke, of course, was a big highlight of the most recent game. How do you get comfortable over the course of a season, comfortable enough with a shot to say, all right, this is something I can now add in games too that'll make me an even harder player to defend?
Yeah, well, I don't want to be too one-dimensional. I can, it's pretty easy to guard a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. You just got to be basically to stay attached to him. And I figured, if if I want to be more dangerous, I think being able to shoot off the dribble, being able to get a shot off in any situation is definitely going to help us win a lot of games, and I think it's going to help us with our shooting percentages. And I think, I'm pretty confident I can take those shots, and Coach is confident in me, so he doesn't have a problem with me taking those shots as long as I make them. So I'm just feeling really confident.
Well, one thing we have learned from Kerwin Walton is that he does make them, Adam. So keep on shooting, Kerwin. Kerwin, great to see you as always. Appreciate the time, and look forward to seeing you guys both in Greensboro and beyond the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Always great to talk to Kerwin. Best of luck, of course, to him and the rest of the Tar Heels starting tonight in the ACC tournament. And our conversations all season long have been brought to you by Coca-Cola, proud partner of the Tar Heels, which taste better together. Adam, let's get to our social drive, and we start, Adam's social drive, there you go, and we start with a championship for a Tar Heel. It is Wes Miller and his UNCG Spartans as they take home the Southern Conference Tournament crown. They're heading to the NCAA tournament, and I tell you what, I don't know if anybody wants to see UNCG in that first round. They are a talented team for sure.
And a well-coached team for sure. A lot of little wrinkles in that game that were used by Coach Wes Miller to enable UNCG to put Mercer away in the second half, rotated his defenses. Got the chance to talk to him a little bit on Tuesday, and he said when he went to the half-court scramble in the second half against Mercer, he said, I was thinking about Coach Williams. So Tar Heels always in Wes Miller's mind, and he has done a fantastic job at UNCG, taking that program to heights where they had never been previously.
We go from one Wes to another Wes. We saw this one on social media this week, Adam, from Wes Durham, of course, the son of legendary voice of the Tar Heels, Woody Durham, and Wes marking an anniversary of 10 years since Woody's last broadcast in the Smith Center. And Adam, I always say that it looked like Woody was ready to fly a spaceship with the amount of notes that he had in front of him for a ball game, and there's a great example of it, his spotter boards from that particular game.
Of course, everybody always talks about Woody's preparation, and you can see it there. Not just the preparation, but the ability to condense it. That's not a poster-sized sheet of paper right there.
It's a regular-sized sheet of paper.
You just sit it on the desk and able to fit it all in there, and hard to believe that it's been a decade since the last time Woody did a game in the Smith Center.
In the Smith Center that day, because Carolina won that game, by the way, won the ACC regular season championship, one of many that Roy Williams has won. And Adam, Roy Williams has given Carolina so much on the court with championships like that one, national titles, but also he's given so much to the Chapel Hill community and to the University of North Carolina. And he and Wanda, yet again, proving their love for the university this week. An incredible $3 million gift to support multiple UNC scholarships. There is an athletic and a basketball part to this, but it's much more than just that.
And really recommend you watching the video and reading the story that came out with this announcement, because it really explains a great deal about why it was important for Coach Williams and Mrs. Williams to make this gift that touches so many different parts of the university, and for them to do something, as Jones said, that a large portion of it has nothing to do with basketball and will never impact basketball. I think that really shows you just how important the University of North Carolina is to the Williams family.
Adam, our next two items here on the social drive have to do with two of maybe the most famous Tar Heels in history. First, Michael Jordan. And Adam, you found this one. We talked about Michael Jordan's golf course the other day. You dug a little deeper and found this.
Yeah, so apparently if you go play golf at Michael Jordan's golf course, the Grove, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, your ice cubes have the Jumpman on it, which is very similar to when you go to Jones's house and the ice cubes have the G on it for G College.
Yep.
He's always done that with his ice cubes. But, I mean, that's the height of I'm not sure what else I can do with my money. I'm thinking of putting my logo on my ice. It's just going to melt and disappear, but I want it to be there. I want people to see my logo when they're having their drink.
Just drop it right there in that iced tea that you're enjoying while you're playing at the Grove. We go from Michael Jordan, Adam, to Mia Hamm, and rightfully so, and excited to be inducted, I'll tell you eventually, into the National Women's Hall of Fame. What a great class she's going in with. There's Michelle Obama. What an honor for Mia Hamm.
And I mean, it's mind-boggling that these two individuals, the last two we talked about, Jordan and Hamm, the biggest in the world at a certain amount of time in this Earth's history. Both Tar Heels. That's crazy to me. I don't feel like that gets enough attention. One, going in the Women's Hall of Fame. One, putting his logo on ice. Both giant achievements.
All right, let's get to our last leg of the race here. That is with that's baseball, because Major League Baseball starting to get a little bit closer, going through spring training. And Adam, good to see several Diamond Heels have some success. You see some of the spring training numbers there. That includes Kent Emanuel and Aaron Sabata. We've had both those gentlemen on one of the various pod platforms here over the last year or so. And great to see those guys having success, along with Brian Goodwin, Jacob Stallings, and others.
Fun to see Kent Emanuel back on the mound. If you heard his audio pod interview, you know that's been a long process for him to get back to that point, so great to see him. Also recommend, look up a tweet from the Pittsburgh Pirates. They mic'd up Jacob Stallings in game and let the announcers call pitches. Jones, I think you should suggest to Coach Williams that you could possibly call some defensive or offensive sets. You're not going to be able to call timeouts, but maybe like an offensive or defensive set.
A lot of those guys on that list that we just showed you, parts of College World Series teams in Chapel Hill. And Adam, you and I spent plenty of time in Omaha. We were lucky enough to go with the Diamond Heels when we were calling the games on the radio for Carolina baseball. So we know the roads of Omaha inside and out. And if you, like Jen Fuller, are an Omaha native, or like Adam and me, and basically are Omaha natives, you know that a key way to get around the traffic in Omaha is use the little side road. Our good friend named Rose Blumpkin, that's the name of the road. It connects 72nd Street and Dodge, the two main thoroughfares there in Omaha. If you're in some traffic problems, Adam, just look for our friend Rose Blumpkin. She'll help you.
Does it bring you just a little bit of warmth in your heart?
Absolutely it does.
That when Jen Fuller hops on Rose Blumpkin, she thinks,
I need to send this
Adam
picture.
and Jones like this.
I need to send this picture to them. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Rose, and thank you for being here today. Look forward to being with you next time on the next edition of the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.